Good morning, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are coming to you in 1080 pixels live on the Secrets of Safety. Gentlemen, how are we? Des, how you doing this morning?
Doing great. 10 out of 10. Feeling good. How about
10 out of
yourself?
10, not 10 out of 80, like the pixels that were coming in.
Could be.
Could be, but I'm doing just grand. Thank you. Doing absolutely grand. Mr. Evans, how are you this fine morning?
Good. Wasn't so good first thing, but spending the sort of 15, 20 minutes before the show with you guys has certainly impacted on my well-being.
And nothing but a positive way.
Absolutely.
Nothing but a positive way. Hey, boys, well, what a day here in Aotearoa. Absolutely stunning. The sun is shining. Beautiful winter's morning here. No doubt looking forward to a great show, which is going to be fantastic. Now, couple of things, right? Like super exciting. We have got some I know the ink hasn't quite dried yet, right? But we've got a massive announcement to make at the end of the show. Look, listen, Des, you're 10 out of 10 at the moment, right? That's what you've said. You're feeling good. In terms of this announcement, I mean, where are you at? Are you like a 5 out of 10 or are you like a 20 out of 10 on this one?
I am super excited about this announcement. It is 10 out of 10. It is more than 10 out of 10.
Andy, you don't have much enthusiasm about anything really. I mean, where are you at with this? Are you are you all over it?
It's going to be amazing.
Andy, are you there? Are you
It's going to be amazing.
Oh, okay. There's Andy doesn't seem to be moving. Is he actually there?
Maybe something wrong with his mic. Not sure.
I guess that's just this is the way he is. But no, excellent. I'll tell you what, it's going to be some exciting announcements coming live, which is going to be awesome. Hey, Andy, where are you at the moment, mate?
Lake Taupo, down in Lake Taupo.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
been a holiday again.
No. You guys won't believe this, but it's another week this week where I've been working full time.
Wow, are you okay? Like,
I'm absolutely exhausted. I'm taking 2 weeks off. Starting at 5 o'clock this evening. But no, it's been good. I'm very fortunate at the moment that I've just got some really awesome projects going on with some really fantastic clients.
Nice,
it's just really enjoyable work.
Nice. Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, mate, got to ask. I know it's probably been challenging, considering you're obviously you're working so hard. How's young Oliver? How's our wee little apprentice going?
He's good. He's had an exciting week, and we've actually, even though I've been away, we've been in touch quite a lot because he's been conducting an investigation.
Oh, an investigation.
Mm.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Everything okay?
Yeah. Well, basically, a donut went missing from someone's lunchbox at school.
No.
So he thought, well, he's the safety advisor. He should take a lead in investigating the incident. And the incident is ongoing. And he did look for some evidence.
Yep. Did he find any?
He did. He found some sprinkles.
Oh, I was going to ask what type of donut it was.
In the boys' bathroom.
Wow.
And then the following day, from the same bag, some Bombay mix went missing.
From the same bag? Wow. Okay. This sounds like it's listen, this is going to be an ongoing saga. I think we're going to have to keep a close eye. We might have to make some posts during the week as to how this investigation unfolds. But you've touched on an interesting point there, and I know we've kind of probably spoken about similar topics before on the show, but the role of health and safety, right? It's just so wide and varied, and absolutely stunning. No, awesome. Hey, thanks for the update, mate.
It's a pleasure.
Des, what have you been up to, bud? You got much going on?
Well, I did go and visit for the first time. I did a VR forklift thing. I don't know how else to describe it, but you're basically seated in a little box with forklift controls with a headset on.
Yes.
And that was down at Impact's new training facility in Penrose, and it was pretty cool. They had some simulated excavator systems and simulated truck systems.
It was a lot of fun. Did you do any live strikes? Did you hit anything that you shouldn't have hit?
I managed to flip the excavator. We were upside down at the end of that, and forklift was pretty good though. Managed that one all right.
Nice. Well, I guess that's why you're the safety guy, right? Not the doer guy.
Yep.
That's awesome. And yeah, I guess it's really cool to see. And I guess it's. I mean, I have seen that stuff there in Impact. Obviously, putting a lot of time and effort into that. So that's fantastic. Wow. Okay. So listen, we've got a really big announcement coming up. So should we just get stuck in?
Yep. Let's get it. Spin
awesome.
The wheel.
Well, hang on. Whoa, Andy. I know you're a bit delusional from all the work you've been doing, mate. But we've just got to run through the disclaimer real quickly, just to make sure that nobody takes on board what we're going to say.
Let's just get on and get it done.
So, Des, have you got your disclaimer ready, mate?
I do, and in the New Zealand Herald yesterday, they saw an article about the Crusaders CEO having to apologise for some foul comments that they made to the reporter, and it made me reflect on last fortnight's podcast when Brenton used some heinous. Well, Brenton's heinous use of vulgar and aberrant language was obscene.
Mate!
Look, at first I was dismayed. But I reflected on the linguistic fluency and nuance that can be achieved by using all flavors of words. So,
here we go.
Borrowing from Brent, I've drafted today's disclaimer from his example. Here it goes. We're here to share some useful shit about workplace safety. But this shit isn't professional advice. Consult a shit-hot safety professional for serious shit. Shit will happen. And we're not liable for any shit that happens if you rely on our podcast.
Oh my god! Are you quite done?
Thanks for the inspiration, Brent. Fantastic.
Wow. Okay, I think this is going to have to be the first time that when I upload our podcast to Spotify, I'm going to have to tick yes. It's got explicit language. That's going to rule out like half our membership. Wow.
Is shit offensive?
Well, I don't know if it in a singularity, if it is. I might have said it once in the last show. I think the multiple times said by Des, mate, listen, the ink hasn't even dried on this contract for this big announcement coming up, and you're dropping the S-bomb left, right, and centre.
Sorry, guys.
Wow. Okay. Now that I'm a little bit stunned, to be fair. Hey, now that I don't know where to go with this. Let's make this happen, boys. We're into it. Oh, we're trying something different here too, slightly differently positioned. Okay, so are we ready to spin the wheel?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Whoop whoop.
Yes.
Nice. I think we've been waiting for this one to come up sometime. And the topic today is it's a legal document. Wow. I'm not quite sure where or who this one took inspiration from. But wow. I mean, let's hear it, right? We got the chat already going. Shavashni's tuning in already before we even started. Thanks, Des. She loves it. So we're not going to get any Broadcasting Standard Authority complaints come through from her, and hopefully our TVNZ funding won't be pulled. Well, what do we think, Andy? Your first reactions. It's a legal document. I mean, what's that all about?
Well, it's a great question, and I'd like to start with surprisingly, what are we talking about? We need to define the terms. We need to give some context. It's a legal document. No, it's a word. It's not a legal document. It's in. IT is a word. It's not a legal document. What an absurd thing to put on. I think it was Des that put it on.
Okay, I think we're going to have to limit the number of days you're allowed to work prior to a show, because I think you have officially lost the plot. I guess we're referring to, Andy, just to kind of give you some guidance. I mean, how many times have you heard somebody pull out oh, hey, we've got to do this, or we've got to follow this document because it's a legal document? I mean, how many times have you heard that?
Yeah, it's a frequent discussion point.
Yeah. Des, I mean, with your background, your expertise, I mean, what are your thoughts? It's a legal document. I mean, how excited are you about this popping up on the wheel?
Pretty excited. I've been waiting for this moment for most of my life, and I was definitely the one that put the topic up there, because it is something that I've heard quite a lot, and when I hear it, I don't actually know what people are talking about.
Yes. So are you? Don't tell me you're lining up here with Andy about some kind of random definition.
No, we've made the corrections to the script. We're not going to do that again.
Yeah, that was a bit of AI going rogue, right? Wasn't it? Hey, but yeah, I mean, how often? I mean, to be fair, I think it'd be interesting to understand. And I know we've got this topic on the wheel, which hasn't come up yet, but it is. I guess a bit interesting to understand why do people feel like they've got to pull that out of the bag, right? I mean, regardless of whether it is or isn't, I'm really interested to understand. Why do we need to feel that we've got to pull out the bag? It's a legal document. I mean, Des, your thoughts? I mean, do you think people feel insecure about themselves and they need to kind of justify what they're saying or doing? Or
I think it's an attempt to make people take whatever they're dealing with, whatever the document is, more seriously. It's like to add a bit of gravitas to what's going on.
Yes.
I think that's what they're trying to achieve, because like in construction, for instance, no one debates whether you should have a construction contract or not. That's a given. No one debates whether you need insurance or not. That's a given. And I think with this statement, people are trying to elevate safety processes to that same level where people don't question it. You have to do it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, Andy, what are your thoughts? I mean, why do you think people throw this term out in some kind of in some sort of defense of a document or the like that they're trying to use?
I think there's probably a couple of reasons. One is lack of understanding of the nature of safety and what we're trying to achieve in it. And the other thing, I think, tying in with what Des was saying, is that it's a good way of putting a full stop to a conversation. You know, people start pushing back. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? It's a legal requirement. And then unless the person's a lawyer or legally experienced, then it's hard to push back on that unless you've got a degree of understanding. When the problem is that all that does is reinforce with doing safety for legal reasons, when the reality is I don't think we are. I think we're doing safety to stop people getting hurt.
Well, aren't you doing it to make money? Just want to put that on the table.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I work myself to an early grave to save other people's lives. And I'm deeply offended that you think otherwise.
So you've touched on a fascinating point, Andy, and it's not often that you do. So I really want to highlight this experience and this opportunity. You mentioned, so that the topic of the wheel was it's a legal document, but you also just threw into the mix, and I'll be interested to get your thoughts. Is this a separate topic that we need to talk about, or whether this is part of this? And I guess because we I don't want to blow our script too much because it'll blow our chatbots and our AI out of the water. But so it's a legal document is one phrase, right? And what you touched on was it's a legal requirement. Now, do you think in your mind, was that intentional? Are those two things the same? Are they separate? Do we need a separate topic with it's a legal requirement? Because I think, again, that's a fascinating conversation to be had, right?
It is. I'm still. Oh my God.
I'm going to ask you a question. I need you to respond.
There's a lot going on. It's like this is quite tough stuff.
I know I'm not paying you, but come on, mate. It's work with me here, brother.
Just saying it's a legal document, I think, is effectively a throwaway comment.
But that's not my question. My question is it's a legal document and it's a legal requirement. Is that one and the same?
No, and that's what I'm saying. It's not. The throwaway comment is it's a legal document. A better thing to say would be it's a legal requirement, because that's got some oomph to it. Like a legal document, what is that? Is that a piece of legislation? I don't know.
We're saying it's a legal document. Doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Just some words.
But does saying it's a legal requirement make it any more powerful? I mean, are they even right?
No, I think if it's correct, and set in the right circumstances, it absolutely would be. Like, for example, in forestry, it's a legal requirement to follow the approved code of practice. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. Whether it's the right thing to say in the circumstances, I'm not sure, because I think when you're working with organisations and people, you tend to be far better off talking about stopping people getting hurt rather than legal liability. I know Des probably disagrees with me here, but certainly to get buy-in and get leverage and get engagement, people are engaged, particularly in New Zealand, I think. People in New Zealand genuinely care about other people. They care less about the law. In other cultures, I think it's a bit different, where they care more about the law and less about people. So in New Zealand, to make it all work, it's got to be about the people. So playing the legal card is always the last thing that I try and do it if I'm trying to persuade people to be engaged in safety.
And I suppose that would be regardless of whether, I mean, because technically, if I pulled out of the bag right now a hard copy printed copy of the Health and Safety at Work Act 2015, right? You could argue that's a legal document to some extent. I mean, I know it may not be the official document, but that would be the same concept as saying it's a legal requirement. So the key being, as long as it's said correctly in context, it's okay, right? Is that what we're kind of landing on?
I would say so. I would absolutely say so. For me, it's the useful backstop. I'd try and use everything else in my toolbox before I play the legal card.
Yes. Well, yeah, wow. Okay, Des, your thoughts? It's a legal document versus it's a legal requirement. Same thing, if set out of context or in context, or are they two different things?
Two different things, and I think that Andy's right. It's saying it's a legal requirement. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It would depend on context. But I think the idea that it's a legal document, I don't think people understand what legal documents are when they say that. And the reason I say that is because the legal documents exist. It could mean one of two things. You could have a prescribed form, which is something like a statutory declaration, where it has to follow a certain format. It has to have certain wording, and you sign it in a certain way, or an affidavit.
Like a provisional improvement notice.
Yes, I think that could be, yeah. Or a legal document could mean something that's discoverable as evidence in a court proceeding, in a trial. So we're not talking about, if we're talking about a SWIMS or a JHA or Take 5, some sort of safety document, is it a prescribed form? No, it's not an affidavit. It's not a stat dec. It's not in that class of documents. Is it discoverable? Yes, it is. So in that sense, it is a legal document, but so is the Post-it note on my desk that's got a scribble on it. So is every document that's sitting in my office right now. All of it's discoverable. Every photo says the statement doesn't mean anything. It's a legal document. Well, everything is a legal document if that's the case. If we're talking about discovery, everything is.
And great point, though. And I just want to kind of touch on something, because I think, gentlemen, we need to appreciate that we don't only have followers and listeners dialing in from Aotearoa, New Zealand. We have a wider audience, and another big membership is coming out of Australia. Now, in terms of the legal documents, it'd be great to get your thoughts. So in some, I think, is it in all states or some states, there are prescribed requirements around the requirement to have a SWIMS. So in that context, where it's a prescribed requirement to have it, would that make it a legal document then, in that context?
Yes, and that differs from state to state, because health and safety legislation is a state power, and
yes.
It's regulated differently in every state.
Well, I think we've just officially can say we're global in nature, right? I think we can officially now say we're talking about other countries' legislation. I'd be fascinated to hear from somebody from Kenya, possibly. I'm really interested to understand their thoughts on that. Now, also, just kind of before we move on, you might have seen the comment flash up there from Steve Clark. We have got verification that you should not, by any means, let the Xilinx anywhere near an excavator, because he has a tendency to flip them. So thanks for the validation there, Steve. Greatly appreciated.
Does that count as a near miss?
Well,
and do you have to conduct a virtual investigation?
Wow. It would be great to get somebody from Impact on the show to discuss their health and safety procedures when it comes to said flipping of virtual machinery. So, Steve, if you're still listening, mate, if you could let us know that your requirements around that, we'll get these onto it straight away. Can't guarantee the quality of the investigation, but I'm sure you can fill out a report form if needed. I've got something else I just want to touch on, and please pull me back in line, guys, if you think I'm just going off topic here too much. So we've looked at it's a legal document, and we've bounced around what that looks like. We've touched on the topic of it's a legal requirement. And if I'm going too far down the wrong path here, please let me know. I came across some emails the other day, and it was a safety professional, supposedly, and said professional started quoting legislation. I mean, is that the same thing? I mean, why or do you think it's a whole different topic? Should we quote legislation when trying to convey a safety message? I guess maybe it's a different thing. I don't know. Sorry, I just got a bone to pick with that.
It's a problematic one, eh? Quoting legislation. What do you reckon, Andy?
It's hugely problematic.
So
it's hugely problematic because you've got to quote it verbatim, right?
But what I think I might actually put this as a separate topic on the wheel, because I want to ask, what the hell does it achieve, right? To be fair, what does it achieve? If the recipient's not arguing, not fighting, purely needs a reminder or a hey, don't forget, I need a copy of this, or I need a copy of that. I mean, where's the benefit of pulling out legislation? Anyway, I think I'm digressing.
No, I can just jump in there. I think what it has achieved in this case is to wind you up.
It sure as hell has, and that's how we end up with topics on the wheel, right? Corinne's jumped in here.
She's a legend.
Apparently, Impact we shouldn't consider what happened to you in the excavator and near miss. They allowed you to fail. That sounds like some kind of hogwash, really. They allowed you to fail safely.
Corrine is laughing her head off as we read that out. She's absolutely pissing herself.
Do you think she's being sarcastic?
No, not at all.
Well, although further evidence comes back from Steve, where Steve is more than happy to provide the telematics report. Steve, can you? If you could send that through to us.
Could we frame it?
We would post it on our page. We would love to see Des's telematics report. Thank you, Steve.
Well, on a more serious note, with regard to that, were you psychologically, Des? I mean, if this is very realistic, were you psychologically impacted by you rolling this over? Like, have you relived it in your sleep, in your dreams?
I've woken up in a cold sweat a few nights.
Because if you have, then it's caused you psychological damage, and therefore a proper investigation is called for.
Well, at the time I had Steve standing next to me saying, "Well, if you go straight up that cliff, you should flip it pretty easily." So maybe there's a bit of peer pressure happening.
I'm suspecting we've got some peer pressure going on there.
Oh my goodness! God. So this telematics report that Steve's going to send through to us, which we can publish, is that a legal document?
It's about to
be. Going back to your other point about quoting legislation, were they quoting the duty or were they quoting the penalty? Because I think a distinction can be made there.
I think we'll put it as the topic on the wheel, but they were quoting the duty, which I think is just semantic. I'm not going to use another bad word because I've already got although I've got to call this an expletive show, right? That's not available for children. So I think it's just bureaucratic bullshit, and I think they're just trying to make themselves sound smarter than they really are. I mean, my mindset is if as a safety professional, you've got to start quoting legislation to somebody that's not being argumentative, not pushing back, you're purely asking for some information. I think you're barking up the wrong tree, and you're definitely taking the wrong approach. But we're getting distracted. So I guess thinking about this, it's a legal document. I mean, Des, can you see any, or it's a legal requirement, I guess, if we're kind of going down that road, can you see any time in the land of Safetyville, any requirement where you would pull that out? That term, that statement?
The legal document one, no, because it doesn't make sense. The legal requirement, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair enough, right? And I guess it's all about context, right? And why you would pull it. Except, but that's the same as my little rant that I just had, right? I mean, if you're just whipping it out willy nilly, and going, oh mate, you got to do this because it's a legal requirement. Would we be on the same page here to suggest that maybe you don't actually know what you're talking about and you can't influence people correctly if you've got to pull that terminology out for no reason?
No, it's probably lower down the list of persuasive arguments that you would choose to use. But if you've got someone who is arguing the point back to you saying this is BS, we don't need to do this, what a load of nonsense, then it's like, well, the law says we need to do it. So well, it's not about whether we need to do it, it's about how we're going to do it.
Yeah, so I think we're on the same page there, right? It's your last line of argument, right? It's an absolute. If you can't influence or convince or creatively suggest to the individuals that it's a good idea to do it, then, because I mean, it's like anything, all right? You pull that term out, oh, it's a legal requirement. Well, so is not speeding, but we do it all the time, right? So is not using your mobile phone, but people do it all the time. So I guess, would it actually do we think it would achieve a greater outcome? Andy, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Would pulling that out of the bag, as albeit maybe your last line of defense, do you think it's actually going to influence behavior?
I think it will do, but it's absolutely the last line. If you think about, you just talk about driving there, which is quite a cool example. So speeding's a really interesting one. So a lot of people die on the roads. Speeding's
about 350 a year. In the last 7 days, 8 to be exact, if you're wondering.
And speeding tends to be a significant factor in that. We have speed limits, but all the publicity around trying to get people to reduce the speed, we could do a whole show on this, tends not to be about don't speed, you'll get fined, which is the legal argument, right? Speeding is illegal, therefore, if you do it, you'll get punished. The adverts aren't about that. The vast majority of adverts on the TV to reduce speeding aren't about that. All the adverts on the TV about speeding are about the child in the back seat, about the impact it has on the police officer, about all the lives. Yeah, it's telling the emotional story and the moral story, and that's how you get to change. And that's how you get to change behaviour.
No, so that's my question, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If they pulled out the term, you can't speed because it's a legal requirement.
It doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work, exactly. So I guess that's the answer to the question, right? It doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a neat example of it in reality. But you could push back and say, if we kill 350 people a year on the roads, then it's not working.
No. Well,
so then you turn the question around and say, well, if we did enforce the speed limit a lot more, and went down that legal route, could we get better outcomes?
I help out on a driver rehabilitation program called Te Ara Tutuki Pai, and that's where I was last night. Hence, I know the fatality numbers in the last 7 days. And mate, the number of people that come across this program that I'm part of, recidivist offenders, fines, court, and sometimes imprisonment. Doesn't seem, for some individuals, it doesn't actually work, and it's amazing. So I guess it's horses for courses a little bit, right? It's all going to depend on the context a little bit, right? Well, thinking about then Des, I mean, what are your? We'll stick with Andy actually. In terms of the phrase, it's a legal document or it's a legal requirement. I mean, if you got to your last line of defense, right? If this is the last thing you've got in your tool bag to try convince somebody to do something and you pull it out of your bag, I mean, what are some of the traps do you think people should be mindful of when using this terminology?
Which I guess primarily which piece of legislation that you're using and how you're using it. I mean, if it's a specific requirement in a approved code of practice, no problem at all. But if you try and pull out something that relates to the more general aspect of Health and Safety at Work Act, then you could be really problematic because it's reasonably practicable. And that's a completely different conversation. which is much more complex. But if it's, for example, I'm doing some work with forestry at the moment, so one of the things in the approved code of practice there when you're harvesting trees is there must be a first aid kit available, and it must have certain things in it. It's a legal requirement. That's cool. But going in and saying, "Oh, I don't think you're not doing reasonably practicable," I mean, that's just.
Oh yes, I see where you're going with that. Two very different things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first absolutely is quite clear, but the second is much cloudier, and I would push back. I would really push back and almost not say it is a legal requirement. You almost push back and ask them and say, how is this aligning with reasonably practicable?
This could be a whole other topic. I mean, so if we go back to the vehicle concept, right, that I kind of introduced in terms of driving, having your car warranted, right, is a legal requirement. But one would argue the requirements in a warrant of fitness are the bare minimum, right, to get past. So is that reasonably practicable? That would be a fascinating conversation if it ever came up, right? And you were having to defend yourself about, did you do everything that was reasonably practicable? Well, yes, the car was warranted, but I mean, the tires might have been right on the borderline there, right? Be a fascinating conversation.
Well, I mean, yeah, it would be, and I think it's worthy of putting something like that on the wheel.
Cool.
But it's quite a powerful discussion to have, that actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we might need to even do a double whammy episode on that topic, because again, I think we've identified some of the topics that we've had come up on the wheel are quite large, right? And the sort of 30 odd minutes we spend gas bagging about it probably doesn't do it justice, and I think that would be one of them. I mean, there's your thoughts, mate. If you're pulling out this term, it's a legal document or it's a legal requirement. I mean, what are some of the traps that I know your disclaimer earlier said don't listen to us, but what are some of your thoughts around if you were to pull that out? What's some of the traps that you need to be mindful of?
I think I've heard people go around quoting legislation about the penalties that you're going to be subject to. Oh, that's a $500 fine, or that's a $40,000 fine. You actually have absolutely no idea what the fine's going to be. The court determines that, and they factor in any number of different things to determine what that figure is going to be. So anyone that quotes the penalty is talking absolute nonsense. But there's a comment from Julie Taylor. Can we get that up on the screen?
Oh, yeah, we can, mate.
Because she's really driven this back to the documentation side of things, which I think is good, because I think there's a general misunderstanding about what evidence is and how evidence works legally. And her comment is that auditors that require legal requirements to be demonstrated, such as in training or in documentation. And I think people say, if it's not documented, it didn't happen, or you need to be able to prove this in court, and therefore it needs to be documented, and that's just simply not how evidence works. And I people just don't seem to understand that generally. And when I say people, I mean the safety profession.
Sorry, mate, I'm just making a note. I think that's another great topic for the wheel, right? If it didn't happen, if it isn't documented, it didn't happen, it'd be really cool to kind of pull that a little bit to pieces, right? And have a nosy. And thank you, Julie, for jumping in there. So just as we start to sort of wrap this topic up, I mean, your general after this little wee discussion, your general thoughts on this concept of it's a legal document or it's a legal requirement?
If you're saying it's a legal document, stop saying that, please. Probably read a book about evidence and law and what's going on there. But it's a legal requirement. Yeah, wow. If you're relying on that solely as your case for pushing or persuading someone, it's not very convincing. It's part of your repertoire, but it's probably one of the last tools you pull out.
I don't think, Andy, and mate, you got a pretty good memory. I don't think in all episodes that we've run we've ever told our listeners off, and I think Des just did. Those listeners that are using the term, it's a legal document.
Wow, and rightly so. I think maybe we've been too soft on the listeners in the past. Yeah, absolutely. I think this could be a new precedent. This could be the new way of the show.
Wow, breaking ground. Innovative, as some people may say. Yeah. And who would have thought Des would have come up with it? Your wrap up of the topic, Andy. It's a legal document or it's a legal requirement.
I think this actually, is a reoccurring theme across all the stuff that we talk about in safety, and it highlights the need to use language precisely. And in safety, we've got a tendency not to use language precisely. And we use a whole heap of terms that are ill-defined, and we use them in different ways and in different contexts, and it ends up in a really, really messy place. And if we could sort of tidy up the language that we use and use the language as it's designed, I think that would be one recommendation that I would put forward in terms of anyone trying to improve safety performance, would be to tidy up your use of language and be precise in that.
Yeah, great, cool. Good call there, Andy. I mean, and my thoughts are, listen, it's your last line of defense, right? So I'm trying to multitask if you haven't worked it out. It's your last line of defense. If you are going to use it, please, just whether it's the term, it's a legal document. Like they said, make sure you know what you're actually talking about. And second, if you're pulling out the term, it's a legal requirement. Again, make sure you know what you are talking about, and it is absolutely should be your last line of defense. You need to call upon everything else that you've got in your toolkit before we start getting to that sort of shenanigans. Well, gentlemen, what a topic! I thought. Des, did that disappoint, or were you pretty comfortable with how that went? I mean, this was your topic.
Pretty comfortable with that. Got the opportunity to state my case and then discipline the offenders. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's a good outcome.
Fantastic. No, that's awesome. Now, guys, a couple of things, and I'm a little bit kind of giddy with excitement here. I don't know which way to kind of take this, so I'm just going to kind of jump in. First and foremost, without our loyal listeners, followers, tuner-inners, I don't know. Maybe we need to come up with like a term like the Biebers. What is Justin's followers, or Justin Bieber's followers, or Taylor Swift, the Tay-Tays, or whatever they're called?
I suspect you're asking the wrong people here.
Well, maybe you could go ask Oliver. Do you need to go ask Oliver? But anyway, listen. If it wasn't for you, this wouldn't all be possible. And, while we do enjoy talking to ourselves, knowing that people are chiming in and getting involved is fantastic. And my reference to Kenya earlier on in the show was not without merit. One of our latest followers actually hails out of the African nation of Kenya. His name is Carlos Kibichi. So, hey, Carlos, mate, thanks for joining the show. Glad you're tuning in all the way there from Africa. And listen, I could probably speak on behalf of all of us. We would love to come over there and do some work with you. Now, what that work would look like would entail pina coladas, beach umbrellas, and maybe an African safari. I don't know if we'll actually achieve any great outcomes in terms of safety performance, but we can always say we tried. Carlos is the Quality, Safety, Health and Environment Officer at Kaylee's Consortium. There as an intern, been there for 9 months. Love internships. I think they're a great thing. And he's been there for 9 months. So, Carlos, here's to you and all our other followers out of Kenya. A big thank you to you. Now, super exciting. I'm a little bit. I'm trying to. Oh, there we go. Thanks to Metanoia Safety. We just a reminder to all our listeners, the Circus of Safety website is live at circusoфsafety.com. You can see the merch is up there, nice and live. Yeah, there we go. Look at it. Wow, look at all that merch. Absolutely stunning. Get in there, support the show, and Whoa, hang on. What do you mean you're selling mugs? I had to give those 5 bloody mugs back, and you're selling them now online. I can't believe
you've got a credit card.
Got a credit card. Look at that. Add to cart. Boom. Thanks for coming. But absolutely amazing there. Now, just before we head over to our big announcement, I've just got to do some technical stuff in the background here. I'm going to be trying something new. Massive announcement here, gentlemen. Super excited. Things for the show are just going from strength to strength. Now, do you want to give me a drum roll? So when I tell you to go, though, not just yet. Yeah, good getting ready, Des. So this Circus of Safety, that's the three of us, have been announced and have been approached to host our show live and exclusively at the National Safety Show, coming up at the Auckland Showgrounds 25 to 26 of June. I'm telling you now, it is going to be super exciting. It is going to be 2 days of outrageous, enjoyable experiences as we over there at the National Safety Show. Now, I guess for our listeners out there, we're not going to be giving away tickets because it's free to register. Woohoo! We're not hosting. But what we're going to be doing, we'll be releasing some more details as we get closer to the time. But long story short, we will be there at the speaker series. We will be there with our show. So really encourage you to kind of jump on, register yourself to attend. You still need to register, so you can get in there, register yourself. Let us know you're coming. And as we get closer and closer to it, we will keep you posted. I mean, Des, now that the cat's out of the bag, still super excited?
I'm hyped, mate. This is going to be awesome. 2 days of bliss.
And the best part about it is Andy's only going to be there for one.
You're a cock.
Andy, your 1 day of attendance, I mean, how excited are you?
I'm moderately excited.
Yeah, absolutely stoked. Can't wait to be there. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be live. It's going to be in person. Look forward to meeting you all there and getting to know some of our listeners live. So absolutely fantastic. Well, yeah, gentlemen, I think that's a wrap, right? Well done. Andy, you're off to Turangi now, then home safely, hopefully.
Hopefully, ideally, that'd be good.
Anything exciting come up in the next couple of weeks?
I'm catching up with. It's been an interesting week. Last Friday, I caught up with two legends in the safety game.
Well, we didn't catch up. What are you talking about?
Oh, you just ruined it. I was doing the whole big build-up. Yeah, I'm catching up with Brenton on Thursday.
No, last week you didn't catch up with these. Right? You talked about two legends.
I had tea with Mike Cosman in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And then coffee with Brent Sutton in the afternoon.
Wow.
And there might be some exciting stuff coming about with those two guys as well. So keep watching this.
Mate, listen, you need to check your contract with us. You cannot be creating another show.
No, they're not creating the show. We're just reviewing the presenters of this one.
Oh, wow. But you can't replace you. That's our job. We'll choose your replacement. Who does he think he is, Des? Des, mate, what about you? What do you got coming up, buddy? Anything exciting?
Not much. No, nothing exciting. I am preparing to do a bit of a presentation for an NZISM branch meeting in August.
Oh, nice.
One of the topics of which, or one of the things I'll touch, is if it's not documented, it didn't happen.
Wow. That's awesome.
When is that, Des? I mean, it'd be great if me and Brenton could be there to support you in the front row, wouldn't it?
Love to be there.
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you guys. You know what? Leave it with me. I'll call you. Yeah, I'll call you.
Good thing we're members of. Oh, I'm a member of NZISM. I'm sure I'll get the email. I'll look at my diary. Well, fantastic. Super exciting. So, listen, I know I've got a lot of cool stuff. I've actually just become a member of the Institute of Directors. So looking forward to catching up on some of their resources and doing a bit of light reading over the weekend. But I'm looking to launch a world tour. So I'm going to be kind of really. I just want a free jaunt around the world, talking rubbish. So I'm going to be coming up with some similar topics. So there's a set of sites on a local branch NZISM event. I'm going global. So with our powers combined, hopefully we get there. So no, it's going to be a couple of exciting weeks, and no doubt we're going to be feverishly getting ready for the National Safety Show coming up 25, 26 of June at the Auckland Showgrounds. So really excited about that and look forward to being there. So till the next time, gentlemen, have a great weekend and rest of the day.
Thanks, Brent.